Hey, tonight we're going to journey back in time to one of the strangest episodes in European history, the Dancing Plague of 1518. Imagine a mysterious illness that made people dance without stopping, sometimes until they collapsed from exhaustion. It actually happened, and we're going to experience it through the eyes of someone who was there. If you're enjoying these stories, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. I'm curious where you're listening from, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Congratulations, you've just woken up in Strasbourg in the summer of 1518. The air is thick with heat and the scent of unwashed bodies. Your name is Matthias, a baker's apprentice, and you're 14 years old. Your woolen shirt sticks to your back as sweat trickles down your spine. The rough fabric scratches against your skin with every movement, a constant reminder of the discomfort of summer in the city. Your stomach growls, a hollow ache that never quite goes away these days. The good news is that you work in a bakery, so you're better off than many. The bad news is that the last few harvests have been poor and flour is scarce and expensive. Your master can only afford to bake half as many loaves as he did 2 years ago, and what he does bake sells quickly to those who can pay. You stretch and yawn, feeling the pleasant pull in your tired muscles. The stone floor beneath your sleeping pallet is cool against your bare feet as you stand up. The small room at the back of the bakery is dark, but a thin line of grey light seeps through the shuttered window. It must be just before dawn. You know the routine by heart. First, check the dough that's been rising overnight. Then, stoke the oven until it's hot enough. Your master will arrive soon, and he expects everything to be ready. The familiar tasks help push away the lingering dreams that troubled your sleep. Dreams of empty fields and hungry faces. The streets of Strasbourg are beginning to stir as you step outside to fetch water from the well. The city is waking up, but there's a heaviness in the air that has nothing to do with the summer heat. People move with slow, deliberate steps, their faces drawn and wary. 5 years of famine have left their mark on everyone. You can feel the rough cobblestones through the thin soles of your shoes. They're uneven, with gaps where dirt and waste collect. The smell is strong this morning, a mixture of human waste, rotting food, and the ever-present odour of too many people living too close together. You've grown used to it, but sometimes, like now, it hits you anew and makes your empty stomach churn. The well is busy, as always. Women with large jugs and tired eyes wait their turn. Children dart between the adults, somehow finding the energy to play despite everything. You join the line, nodding to familiar faces. "Did you hear about old Willem?" a woman asks another as you wait. They say, "The pox took him yesterday." The second woman makes the sign of the cross. "May God rest his soul." That's the third this month on our street alone. You shift your weight from one foot to another, feeling the ache in your calves from standing all day at the bakery. The wood of the water bucket handle is smooth from years of use, worn down by countless hands before yours. It's oddly comforting, this connection to all those who came before. When it's finally your turn, you lower the bucket into the well. The rope is rough against your palms, already calloused from work. You can hear the splash as the bucket hits the water and feel the sudden weight as it fills. Your arms strain as you pull it back up, the muscles burning with the effort. The water sloshes over the side as you set the bucket down, cooling your feet momentarily. Back at the bakery, your master has arrived. Jacob is a stern man with flour permanently embedded in the creases of his hands. His face is lined with worry these days, but he's fair and he feeds you, which is more than many masters do for their apprentices. "The oven hot yet, boy?" he asks, not looking up from the dough he's examining. "Almost, Master Jacob," you reply, hurrying to add more wood to the fire. The heat from the stone oven washes over you in waves. It makes the summer day even more unbearable, but it's a necessary discomfort. You've learned to welcome the sweat that drips from your forehead and the constant thirst that parches your throat. It means you're working, and work means food. As the morning progresses, the usual customers come and go. There's the widow Marguerite, who always buys the smallest loaf and makes it last for days. The merchant Herr Stolz, who can afford a fresh loaf daily for his family. The priest from the small church down the street, who takes bread for the poorest in his parish. You know them all by now, their habits and preferences, the way their eyes light up at the smell of fresh bread. But today there's a buzz of something different in the air. People are talking, voices low but excited, about something that happened yesterday. A woman just started dancing in the street. You overhear a customer telling Master Jacob, right out there on Rue de Dentelle, dancing like she was possessed, they say. Wouldn't stop no matter what her husband did. Master Jacob frowns. Possessed, you say? Did they call for a priest? Aye, but it did no good. She danced all day and into the night. Some say she's still at it this morning. You try not to listen too obviously, but your curiosity is piqued. A dancing woman? It sounds like the kind of strange tale that spreads through the city from time to time, usually amounting to nothing, but there's something in the way people are talking about it. A mixture of fear and fascination that makes this feel different. By midday, the bakery is quiet, the day's bread is sold, and Master Jacob sits at the small table calculating figures in his ledger. His face grows more pinched with each number he writes. You sweep the floor, careful not to disturb him, the broom's bristles making a soft, rhythmic sound against the stone. Matthias, he says suddenly, looking up, take these 2 loaves that didn't sell to your mother. Tell her I said they're day-old, though they're not, and bring back any mending she has for me. You try not to show your surprise or gratitude. Master Jacob rarely gives away bread, even when it truly is a day old. He must know how your family struggles since your father died of the sweat last winter. Your mother takes in mending and washing to feed your 3 younger siblings. But it's never quite enough. Thank you, Master, you say, carefully wrapping the still fresh loaves in a clean cloth. The streets are busier now, filled with the midday bustle of a city at work. Strasbourg sits on the banks of the Rhine River, a crucial trading post between the Germanic lands and France. Even in these hard times, commerce continues. Carts laden with goods rumble over the cobblestones. Merchants call out their wares. The guild halls are full of craftsmen, weavers, metalworkers, tanners, each in their own quarter of the city. But as you make your way toward the poorer district where your family lives, you notice a crowd gathered ahead. People are standing in a circle, watching something. The murmur of voices rises and falls like the drone of bees. You clutch the precious bread closer to your chest and consider going around, but curiosity pulls you forward. You edge through the crowd, using your small size to slip between bodies until you can see what everyone is staring at. In the center of the circle is a woman dancing, just as the customer had said. She's middle-aged, her face flushed and streaming with sweat. Her clothes, a simple housewife's dress and apron, are soaked through and dirty, as if she's been wearing them for days. But it's her dancing that holds everyone transfixed. It's not the graceful, measured steps of festival dancers or the exuberant movements of celebration. This is something wild and desperate. Her arms flail, her feet stamp and twist. Her head jerks from side to side, and her eyes, that's what strikes you most. Her eyes are open, but seem to see nothing. That's Frau Trophäa, someone whispers nearby. Been dancing since yesterday with no music, won't stop even though her husband begged her. Is she mad? Someone else asks. Cursed, more like, comes the reply. Look at her feet. You look down and feel your stomach lurch. Frau Trophäa's feet are visible beneath the hem of her skirt as she whirls, and they're covered in blood. Her shoes have worn through, and still she dances on the rough cobblestones, leaving smears of red with each step. A man stands at the edge of the circle, his face a mask of anguish. He holds a cup of water, trying to approach the woman, but her wild movements make it impossible to get close. Trophäa, please, he calls, his voice breaking. Please stop and drink. You'll die if you don't rest. But the woman, Frau Trophäa, doesn't seem to hear him. She continues her frenzied dance, her breath coming in harsh gasps. The crowd watches, both repelled and fascinated. No one knows what to do. You feel a chill despite the summer heat. There's something deeply wrong about this scene. A woman dancing herself bloody while a crowd gawks. You back away, suddenly eager to be gone, to be safe in your mother's small house with your siblings. The rest of your journey passes in a blur. You can't stop thinking about Frau Trophea's unseeing eyes and bloody feet. By the time you reach your home, a tiny one-room dwelling squeezed between other similar houses, your heart is racing as if you'd been running. Your mother's face lights up when she sees the bread. She's seated by the window, taking advantage of the light to stitch a torn shirt. Your youngest sister, Greta, just 4 years old, plays quietly in the corner with a doll made of straw and scraps. Your brothers, Hans and Friedrich, are out, probably running errands or looking for odd jobs to earn a few coins. Matthias, your mother says, setting aside her sewing to take the bread. This is too much. Is Jakob sure he can spare it? He said to tell you they're day old, you reply with the white lie your master instructed, and to ask if you have any mending for him. She smiles, seeing through the pretense, but grateful nonetheless. I finished his shirts yesterday. Tell him thank you from all of us. You help your mother slice one of the loaves, the knife sawing through the crust with a satisfying sound. The bread is still soft inside, and the aroma makes your mouth water. Greta comes running at the sight of food, her small hands reaching eagerly. As you eat, you tell your mother about the dancing woman. Her face grows serious as she listens. Stay away from such things, Matthias, she says when you finish. If it's a curse or a possession, it could spread. We have enough troubles without inviting more. You nod, but secretly, you're not sure you can stay away. There was something compelling about the strange spectacle, something that tugs at your mind even now. After eating and spending a precious hour with your family, you head back to the bakery. The crowd has dispersed from where Frau Trophea was dancing, but as you pass, you notice dark stains on the cobblestones, blood dried now in the heat of the day. You walk faster. The afternoon at the bakery is spent preparing for tomorrow, sifting flour, mixing dough that will rise overnight, cleaning the equipment. It's hot, repetitive work, but you lose yourself in its rhythm. By the time evening comes, your arms ache and your back is stiff, but there's satisfaction in a day's work completed. Master Jacob seems preoccupied as he locks up the bakery. Strange business, this dancing woman, he mutters, more to himself than to you. Reminds me of stories my grandfather told from when he was young. A whole village taken with dancing fever, he said. Thought it was just an old man's tale. You're about to ask more when a commotion down the street catches your attention. Raised voices, a shout of alarm. Master Jacob frowns and hesitates, then curiosity wins out. Come, boy, let's see what new trouble this is. You follow him toward the noise, which grows louder as you approach. Turning a corner, you see another crowd gathered, larger than before. In the center, illuminated by the golden light of the setting sun, is Frau Trophea. She's still dancing, her movements now slower but no less relentless. Her husband is there again, supported by friends, his face hollow with exhaustion and fear. But that's not what has caused the commotion. Next to Frau Trophea, matching her step for stumbling step, is another woman, and beside her, a man has begun to twitch and jerk in the same uncontrolled way. 3 people now, all dancing as if they cannot stop, all with the same unseeing stare. A chill runs down your spine as you watch. One woman dancing strangely could be madness or maybe drunkenness, though Frau Trophea doesn't look like a woman who frequents taverns. But 3 people, all with the same affliction, that suggests something else entirely. Around you, people are crossing themselves and whispering prayers. Some back away, fear plain on their faces. Others press closer, unable to tear their eyes away from the macabre dance. You feel rooted to the spot, your heart pounding in your chest. Saint Vitus, save us, Master Jacob murmurs beside you, making the sign of the cross. It's spreading. You've heard of Saint Vitus before, the martyr who was tortured but emerged unharmed from a cauldron of boiling lead and tar, only to be thrown to lions who merely licked his hands. He's the patron saint of dancers and those with trembling limbs. People pray to him for protection against the dancing curse. The crowd parts suddenly as several city guards push through, followed by a man in the fine clothes of a physician. He observes the dancers with a clinical eye, then turns to consult with the guards. You're too far away to hear what they say, but their grave expressions tell you enough. "Come, Matthias," Master Jacob says, putting a hand on your shoulder. "There's nothing we can do here, and I mislike the feel of this. Best to be home before dark." You nod and turn to follow him, but not before taking one last look at the dancers. As you do, the man who had just joined the dance catches your eye. For a brief moment, his gaze seems to clear, and you could swear he looks directly at you with an expression of pure terror, before the unseeing glaze returns and he spins away. That night, you lie on your pallet in the back of the bakery, unable to sleep despite your exhaustion. The image of the dancers plays over and over in your mind, the blood on their feet, the mindless, endless motion, the look of terror in that man's eyes. Outside, the city is quieter than usual. Few people venture out after hearing about the strange affliction. The silence makes it easy to hear the distant sound carried on the night air, the rhythmic slap of feet on stone, continuing without pause through the darkness. You pull your thin blanket tighter around you, though the night is warm. The dancing hasn't stopped, and somehow you know with a bone-deep certainty that this is only the beginning of something terrible. As you finally drift towards sleep, your body heavy with exhaustion, you find yourself unconsciously tapping your foot in rhythm with the distant sound of dancing. You force yourself to stop, a flutter of fear in your chest. In the morning, you tell yourself, things will make more sense in the morning, but deep down, you know that Strasbourg has changed. Something has been set in motion that won't be easily stopped. Your eyes close at last, and you fall into uneasy dreams filled with endless dancing and the haunting gaze of St. Vitus, watching impassively as his curse spreads through the streets of your city. And as the night deepens, somewhere in Strasbourg, Frau Trophea dances on, her feet leaving bloody prints as she moves without rest, without reason, without choice. The dance has begun, and no one knows when or if it will end. The scent of fresh bread usually wakes you gently, but this morning it's Master Jacob's hand roughly shaking your shoulder that pulls you from sleep. Your dreams had been fitful, full of stomping feet and twisting bodies that wouldn't stop moving. "Up, boy," he says, his voice gruffer than usual. "We've much to do today." You blink away sleep, feeling the grit in your eyes and the dryness in your mouth. Your tongue feels thick, stuck to the roof of your mouth. The familiar ache of hunger gnaws at your belly, sharper after yesterday's unusual feast of fresh bread. It's strange how quickly your body comes to expect such things. "More dancers in the night," Master Jacob says as you struggle to your feet. The stone floor sends a shock of cold up through your soles. 7 now, they say. The city council is meeting about it. 7 dancers. The news hits you like a physical blow. Yesterday, there were 3. The day before, only Frau Trophea. It's growing, just as you feared. You splash water on your face from the small basin, the shock of cold helping to clear your head. The water smells faintly of minerals from the well, an earthy scent that reminds you of rain. You run wet fingers through your hair, trying to tame it without the luxury of a comb. As you begin your morning tasks, stoking the fire and checking the dough, your mind keeps returning to the dancers. You picture them moving through the night, their bodies refusing to rest even as exhaustion must have claimed them. Did they collapse? Did anyone help them? Or are they still dancing even now as the sun rises over Strasbourg? The morning passes in a blur of flour and fire. Master Jacob sends you to the market with strict instructions to buy only what's on his list. A small sack of flour, salt, and if the price is right, some honey. Money is exchanged with careful attention. Every coin matters these days. The market is buzzing with talk of the dancers. You catch snippets as you move from stall to stall. Right through the night, they say. Blood everywhere, and still they dance. St. Vitus's curse, mark my words. The flour merchant, a heavy-set woman with strong arms from carrying sacks all day, leans close as she measures out your purchase. They've moved them to the Guildhall, she says, her voice low. The dancers, can't have them blocking the streets, can we? Council's brought in a physician from the university to examine them. Your curiosity burns. Has anyone stopped dancing yet? You ask. She shakes her head, her double chin wobbling. Not a one, though Frau Trophea collapses now and then from exhaustion. They pour water down her throat when she does, then up she gets again. It's not natural, I tell you. You hand over Master Jacob's money, feeling the weight of the coins leave your palm with a mixture of regret and relief. Regret because you know how hard-earned those coins are. Relief because the transaction is complete without incident. Too many times you've seen merchants suddenly raise their prices when a customer is desperate. The small sack of flour is heavy against your back as you hoist it onto your shoulder. The rough cloth scratches against your neck and fine dust works its way through the weave, making you want to sneeze. Salt and honey are carefully wrapped and tucked into your pocket. Precious commodities not to be risked. On your way back to the bakery, you take a detour past the Guildhall. You tell yourself it's not really out of your way, though you know Master Jacob would disapprove of any delay. The building looms ahead, its half-timbered upper floors jutting out over the street, creating deep shadows despite the morning sun. The door stands open and 2 city guards flank the entrance. As you approach, you can hear it, the rhythmic thump and scuff of feet on wooden floors, punctuated by occasional gasps and cries. The sound makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. One of the guards, a young man not much older than yourself, but with the hardened look of someone who's seen too much, catches you staring. "Move along, boy," he calls. "Nothing for you to see here." But as you hesitate, a woman rushes out of the Guildhall, nearly colliding with you. It's Magda, who sells flowers near the cathedral when they're in season. You recognize her instantly. Her sharp features and the birthmark on her cheek are distinctive. Her face is streaked with tears, and she's shaking. "My sister," she gasps to the guard, who has moved to steady her. "She's in there dancing. Please, can't someone help her? She has 3 little ones at home." The guard's face softens slightly. "The physician is doing what he can, Frau Magda. The council has sent for more help from the next town." Magda notices you then, recognition flashing in her tear-filled eyes. "Matthias, is that you? Your mother does mending for us sometimes." You nod, awkwardly shifting the sack of flour on your shoulder. "Have you seen her? My sister Agnes? She started dancing last night after supper, just stood up from the table and—" Her voice breaks. "I haven't been inside," you admit. "They won't let me." Magda wipes her eyes with the corner of her apron. "It's terrible. They just dance and dance, even as their feet bleed. Agnes's husband carried her here when he couldn't make her stop. Now he's home with the children, and I don't know what to tell them." The guard clears his throat. "You should go home, Frau Magda. There's nothing you can do here. We'll send word if there's any change." Magda looks like she might argue, but then her shoulders slump in defeat. She nods and turns away, her steps slow and heavy. "You should go too. Master Jacob will be waiting for the flour, but something keeps you rooted to the spot. The sound of the dancing pulls at you, a rhythm that seems to match your heartbeat. Then, from inside the Guildhall, a new sound rises, a scream, high and terrible, cut short as suddenly as it began. The guards exchange alarmed glances and one rushes inside. That breaks your trance. Clutching the flower tighter, you turn and hurry away, your feet slapping against the cobblestones in a pace that uncomfortably echoes the dancer's rhythm. By the time you reach the bakery, you're breathing hard, as much from fear as exertion. Master Jacob takes one look at your face and frowns. "You went by the Guildhall," he says. It's not a question. You nod, unable to lie. "I heard them dancing and screaming." Master Jacob sighs, taking the flower from you with strong, sure hands. His fingers are dusted white, the nails rimmed with dough. "Curiosity will be the death of you, boy. Now help me with this bread before we lose the day entirely." You work in silence for a while, the familiar tasks soothing your frayed nerves. Kneading dough is rhythmic too, but it's a productive rhythm, one you control. Push and fold, push and fold. The dough is alive under your hands, responding to your touch, becoming something sustaining. As the morning wears on, customers come and go. Each brings news of the dancers, each account slightly different, growing in the telling. 12 dancers now, says the cooper who supplies your barrels. 15, corrects the chandler's wife an hour later. 20 at least, insists the tanner just before noon, his clothes carrying the acrid smell of his trade. And they say 2 have died already, danced until their hearts burst in their chests. Master Jacob, who has been listening with increasing concern, shakes his head. Gossip and fear help no one. Unless you've seen it with your own eyes, Gerhard, perhaps keep such tales to yourself. The tanner looks offended, but he takes his bread and leaves without further comment. When there's a lull in customers, Master Jacob turns to you. "Take some bread to the priest at St. Martin's. Ask if he needs anything else. The church should be helping those affected." You're surprised. This is more charity than Master Jacob usually dispenses, but the times are unusual, and fear has a way of turning even the most frugal hearts generous. The loaves are still warm as you wrap them in cloth, the heat seeping through to your hands. It's a pleasant sensation against the perpetual chill that seems to have settled in your bones despite the summer heat. The weight of the bread is comforting too, solid, real, normal in a world that suddenly seems anything but. St. Martin's Church is a small stone building, nowhere near as grand as the cathedral, but beloved by its parish. The heavy wooden door creaks as you push it open, and the smell of incense envelops you. It's cool inside, the thick walls keeping out the summer heat, and dim except for the coloured light filtering through the stained glass windows and the flicker of prayer candles. Father Lucas is at the altar, his back to you as he kneels in prayer. You wait respectfully, taking in the familiar sights, the wooden crucifix hanging above the altar, the rows of simple benches, the statues of saints watching from their niches. One of those saints is St. Vitus, you realise with a start. You've never paid him much attention before, but now you study his carved face carefully. He looks young, almost a boy, with a serene expression that seems at odds with his terrible martyrdom. In his hand he holds a palm frond, symbol of his triumph over suffering. At his feet is a small carved lion, its posture one of submission rather than menace. "Matthias," Father Lucas says, making you jump. He's finished his prayers and turned to find you staring at the saint. "What brings you to God's house today?" You hold out the bread. "Master Jacob sent these for you, Father, and asks if you need anything else." Father Lucas takes the bread with a nod of thanks. He's a thin man with kind eyes and a perpetually worried expression, made more pronounced today. God bless Jacob for his generosity. These will help feed those who have none. He looks at you more closely, noting your gaze still fixed on St. Vitus. "Ah, you're thinking of our current troubles, I see. Is it true, Father? Is St. Vitus punishing the city?" Father Lucas sighs, running a hand through his thinning hair. "God works in ways we cannot always understand, Matthias. St. Vitus is a powerful intercessor, especially in matters of physical afflictions, but I do not believe he would curse the faithful without cause." Then why are people dancing, you ask, the question that's been burning in your mind finally finding voice. That, my son, is what we are trying to determine. Come, walk with me. He leads you to a side door and out into a small garden beside the church. Here, herbs grow in neat rows, healing plants that Father Lucas uses to treat his parishioners' ailments. The scent of lavender and rosemary rises in the heat, a clean, sharp smell that clears your head. The city council met this morning, Father Lucas says, stooping to pluck a few leaves of mint. He crushes them between his fingers, releasing their scent, and offers them to you. Chew these, good for the stomach. You take the leaves gratefully. The fresh, cool taste spreads across your tongue, temporarily banishing the stale taste of fear. The physician they consulted believes the dancers suffer from an excess of hot blood, Father Lucas continues, a physical ailment, not a spiritual one. He has recommended that they be allowed, encouraged even, to dance until the sickness passes out of them through their sweat. You frown, remembering the bloody feet, the expressions of pain on the dancers' faces. But they're suffering, Father. They look like they want to stop, but can't. Father Lucas nods, his face grave. Yes, that is the troubling part. If it were truly just an excess of humours, the natural exhaustion of the body would eventually bring rest. But these poor souls continue beyond all natural limits. He looks at you with sudden intensity. Have you felt any urge to dance yourself, Matthias? Any strange compulsions? The question startles you. No, Father, but you hesitate, unsure whether to voice your secret fear. Speak freely, child. This is a place of truth. Last night, as I was falling asleep, I found my foot tapping to the rhythm of the distant dancing. I made myself stop. Father Lucas's expression is unreadable. Perhaps it was just the natural mimicry of the body, hearing a rhythm and matching it. Or perhaps... He trails off, then shakes himself. In any case, you were wise to stop, and you should pray to St. Vitus for protection. Will you go to the Guildhall, Father, to help the dancers? I have been called there this afternoon. The council wants both medical and spiritual counsel. He looks troubled. I will do what I can, though I fear it may not be enough. A bell tolls somewhere in the city, marking the hour. Father Lucas straightens. You should return to your master now, thank him for the bread, and Matthias, he places a hand on your shoulder. Be careful, stay close to home when you can, and if you feel any strange urges, come to me at once. The gravity of his tone sends a shiver through you despite the warmth of the day. You nod, swallowing hard. Yes, Father. As you leave the church, the street seems different somehow. The familiar buildings and cobblestones unchanged, yet overlaid with a new sense of menace. You find yourself watching the people you pass more carefully, looking for signs of the strange affliction, a twitching foot, an odd gesture, an unseeing stare. The bakery is busy when you return, a line of customers stretching out the door. It seems the whole city wants bread today, as if stocking up for a siege. You slip in through the back and immediately set to work, helping Master Jacob serve the anxious crowd. 23 dancers now, you hear as you hand a loaf to the blacksmith's wife. And the Guildhall is full. They're building a stage in the market square, says another customer, going to bring in musicians to play for the dancers. Musicians? Master Jacob interrupts, pausing in his counting of coins. What good will that do? The physician says it will help them dance better, help the sickness pass through them faster, explains the chandler, who's waiting his turn. The council has approved the expense. Master Jacob shakes his head in disbelief. So instead of stopping this madness, they're encouraging it? God help us all. The afternoon wears on, and finally the rush of customers ebbs. Your arms ache from lifting loaves, your feet from standing all day, but it's a good kind of tired, the satisfaction of work completed, of being useful. As Master Jacob counts the day's earnings, a grim smile crosses his face. Best day of business in months, he admits. Fear makes people hungry, it seems. He looks at you, his expression softening slightly. You worked well today, Matthias. Here. He presses a small coin into your palm. For your mother. The metal is cool against your skin, the weight of it meaningful. It's not much, but it will help buy food for your siblings. You close your fingers around it, feeling a surge of gratitude. Thank you, Master. He nods, already turning back to his accounts. Go home now. It's getting late, and the streets aren't safe after dark. Not with this dancing sickness about. The sun is indeed sinking lower, casting long shadows between the buildings. You tuck the coin securely into your shoe, the safest place to carry money in the poorer districts, and head out, a small loaf of bread hidden under your shirt for your family. The streets are quieter than usual for this time of day. Normally people would be finishing their work, heading to taverns or home for the evening meal, but fear has driven many indoors early. Those who are out walk quickly, eyes darting nervously, giving the market square a wide berth. You can hear it before you see it, the sound of music drifting through the early evening air, not the usual tavern songs or the chants from the cathedral, but something wilder, faster, designed to match the frenzied pace of the dancers. Despite Master Jacob's warning, despite your own better judgment, you find your feet turning toward the sound. Just a quick look, you tell yourself, just to see if the rumors are true. The market square has been transformed. A wooden stage dominates the center, surrounded by a barrier to keep spectators back. Upon it, a sight that steals your breath, at least 24 people dancing in a chaotic, exhausted frenzy. Some move in jerky circles, some stamp back and forth, but all share the same mindless quality, the same expression of distress mixed with blank detachment. Musicians stand at the edge of the stage, playing furiously on pipes and drums. The music is relentless, matching the tempo of the dancers rather than setting it. City guards stand watch, their faces grim, and around the barrier a crowd has gathered. Some watching in horrified fascination, others on their knees in prayer, still others calling out to loved ones trapped in the endless dance. You scan the dancers, recognizing some. There's Agnes, Magda's sister, her hair come loose from its usual neat bun, her dress torn at the hem. There's old Heinrich the cooper, his substantial belly heaving with each laboured breath. And there, at the far end, barely staying upright, is Frau Trophea herself. She looks like a walking corpse, her face grey with exhaustion, moving now through sheer compulsion rather than any remaining strength. As you watch, a young woman in the front row of spectators suddenly stiffens. Her hands rise to her throat, her eyes widen in panic, and then, to gasps of horror from those around her, she begins to twitch and jerk. Before anyone can stop her, she's climbing over the barrier, joining the macabre dance on the stage, her movements already taking on the same mindless quality as the others. A man, her husband perhaps, cries out and tries to follow, but guards hold him back. His anguished wail cuts through even the music and the constant thump of dancing feet. The crowd ripples with fear. Some back away quickly, making the sign of the cross. Others press closer, morbidly fascinated. You stand frozen, unable to look away from the newest victim as she surrenders to the inexplicable compulsion. Then someone jostles you from behind, breaking your trance. A hand grasps your arm and you turn to find your brother Friedrich, his young face tight with worry. Matthias, what are you doing here? Mother sent me to find you. She was worried when you didn't come home. Relief washes over you at the sight of his familiar face. I'm sorry. I just wanted to see... Friedrich glances at the stage, then quickly away, as if afraid to look too long. It's not safe. People are saying it spreads through watching. Come on, let's go home. You let him pull you away, his hand gripping yours tightly. As you both hurry through the darkening streets, you notice he's keeping a specific rhythm, deliberately breaking his steps, changing pace as if to avoid falling into any pattern that might trigger the dancing curse. You find yourself doing the same, focusing on the uneven placement of your feet, the irregular rhythm of your breath, anything to keep from matching the beat that still echoes in your ears, the relentless rhythm of the dancers that seems to have worked its way into the very pulse of the city. By the time you reach home, darkness has fallen completely. Your mother stands in the doorway, a small lamp in her hand, her face relaxing in relief when she sees you both. "Thank God," she says, ushering you inside. "With this madness in the streets, I feared—" She doesn't finish the thought. She doesn't need to. The fear is there in the tight line of her mouth, in the way she bars the door behind you with more care than usual. Inside, Greta is already asleep in the corner, curled up with her straw doll. Hans sits by the dying fire, whittling a small piece of wood. He looks up briefly as you enter, then returns to his task, but not before you catch the worry in his eyes too. Your mother takes the bread you've brought with murmured thanks, breaking it into portions. The coin from Master Jacob you press into her hand privately, seeing the momentary relaxation in her expression at this unexpected blessing. As your family eats their meagre meal in the flickering firelight, the conversation inevitably turns to the dancers. "They say it's up to 30 now," Hans reports, having spent the day running errands through the city, "and 2 have died already." Your mother shushes him with a glance at Greta, though the little one sleeps on, oblivious. "No such talk at the table," she says firmly. "We'll not invite fear into our home." But fear is already here, you think, looking at their tense faces, the way everyone sits a little closer together than usual. It came with the first step of Frau Troffea's dance, and it's been growing ever since, spreading through Strasbourg as surely as the dancing itself. Later, as you lie beside your brothers on the pallet you share, sleep eludes you. Every time you close your eyes, you see the dancers, their desperate movements, their bleeding feet, their unseeing eyes, and underneath it all, the rhythm continues, a pulse that seems to beat in the very walls of the city. Thump, thump, thump. The sound of feet that cannot stop. Somewhere in the darkness, a dog howls, a long, mournful sound that raises goosebumps on your arms. Beside you, Friedrich murmurs in his sleep, his legs twitching. You place a gentle hand on his ankle, stilling the movement, and he settles again. Tomorrow will bring more dancers. You're certain of it. More fear, more desperate attempts to understand or cure this strange affliction. More prayers to St. Vitus, who watches with impassive stone eyes from his niche in the church. The dancing plague has taken hold of Strasbourg, and you can feel it tightening its grip with each passing hour. As sleep finally claims you, one thought circles in your mind: will any of you be spared? Morning comes with the sound of the cathedral bells, their deep tones vibrating through the air and into the small house where you've spent the night. Your body feels heavy, your limbs weighted with fatigue despite your sleep. The pallet beneath you is thin, offering little cushion from the hard-packed earth floor, and your back aches from the uneven surface. You lie still for a moment, listening to the soft breathing of your siblings around you. Greta has curled against your side in the night, her small body radiating warmth like a little furnace. Her hair tickles your chin, smelling of wood smoke and the lavender your mother sometimes tucks among your belongings to ward off fleas. You should get up. Master Jacob will be expecting you at the bakery, and the streets aren't safe to traverse alone these days, but the weight of sleep pulls at you, tempting you back into its embrace. Just a few more moments, you think, as your eyelids grow heavy again. Then your mother's voice cuts through the drowsy stillness. "Matthias, time to rise." You open your eyes to find her already dressed, her hair neatly covered with a linen cap. The lines around her eyes seem deeper this morning, her mouth set in a grim line. She hasn't been sleeping well. None of you have, really, since the dancing began. "I'll walk with you to the bakery," she says, her tone brooking no argument. "After yesterday, I don't want any of you children going about alone." The memory of the newest dancer joining the afflicted flashes through your mind, the way she stiffened suddenly, the panic in her eyes before they glazed over. A shiver runs down your spine despite the summer morning's warmth. Yes, mother, you agree, carefully extricating yourself from Greta's sleepy grasp. The little one murmurs but doesn't wake, rolling over to press against Friedrich instead. You dress quickly in your simple clothes, the same ones you wore yesterday, as you own only 2 sets. The woolen tunic is scratchy against your skin, and your shoes pinch slightly at the toes. You're growing again, but there's no money for new footwear until these fall apart completely. Outside, the streets are unusually quiet for dawn. Normally, Strasbourg would be stirring to life. Bakers like Master Jacob firing their ovens, merchants setting up their stalls, apprentices and servants hurrying about their morning errands. But today, doors remain shut, windows tightly shuttered. Only a few people move furtively along the cobblestones, heads down, walking with the same deliberate irregularity you and Friedrich adopted last night. How many dancers now? You ask your mother as you pick your way toward the bakery. The morning dew has made the cobblestones slick, and you tread carefully to avoid slipping. Your mother shakes her head. I heard 40 from Widow Gerda last night, but who knows what's true anymore? People speak of little else, and the story grows with each telling. 40 dancers. The number seems impossible, yet you don't doubt it, not after what you've seen. As you approach the main market street, you become aware of a distant sound, the now familiar rhythm of stamping feet and the wheezing notes of pipes. The musicians are still playing, even at this early hour, which means the dancers are still dancing. Your mother tenses, her hand gripping your arm tightly. "We'll go around," she says, pulling you down a side street. The narrow passage is dank, the buildings on either side blocking the morning sun. The smell of waste and rotting food is stronger here, making your empty stomach churn. The detour adds time to your journey, but eventually you reach the bakery. Master Jacob is already there, his face haggard, as if he hasn't slept. The fire in the oven is burning hot, filling the room with welcome warmth and the comforting smell of baking bread. "Mistress Bauer," he greets your mother with a respectful nod. "Thank you for bringing the boy. These are strange times." "They are indeed," your mother agrees. "Will you be needing him late today? I'd rather he wasn't on the streets after dark." Master Jacob shakes his head. "I'll send him home by mid-afternoon. There's not much flour left anyway." He hesitates, then adds, "You're welcome to take some bread for your family. I'm baking extra today. The council has ordered loaves for the dancers. They must eat, even if they cannot stop to do so properly." Your mother's face softens with gratitude. "Thank you, Jacob. God will remember your kindness in these troubled times." After she leaves, you and Master Jacob fall into your usual routine, though there's a tension in the air that wasn't there before. You're both careful in your movements, deliberate in breaking any rhythm that might emerge in your work. Even the kneading of dough, usually a steady, meditative task, is performed with irregular presses and folds. "Did you see them?" you ask finally, unable to contain your curiosity any longer. "The dancers, have they really reached 40? Master Jacob sighs, wiping sweat from his brow with a flower-covered forearm. 47 when I passed the market square at dawn. The stage can barely hold them all now. He looks at you sharply. You keep away from there, you hear me? Whatever this is, it spreads through watching. 3 more joined just as I was looking, stepped right up and started moving just like that. A chill runs through you despite the heat of the bakery. But if no one watches them, who will help them? They need water, food. The council has appointed certain men for that task, guards and physicians who seem resistant to the dancing fever. They wear hoods over their faces with just slits for the eyes, so they cannot see the full movements. Master Jacob shakes his head, like something from a nightmare, Matthias. Men in hoods forcing water down the throats of people who dance without ceasing, their feet bloody pulp beneath them. The image is so vivid, so terrible, that you have to look away. Your hands tremble slightly as you shape a loaf of bread, the dough cool and alive beneath your fingers. The bishop is coming today, Master Jacob continues after a while. From the cathedral, they say he'll perform a mass blessing, try to drive out whatever evil has taken hold of our city. Hope flickers in your chest. The bishop is a powerful man, both politically and spiritually. If anyone can end this curse, surely he can. Do you think it will work? Master Jacob doesn't answer immediately. He stares into the flames of the oven, his face illuminated in the golden light. I pray it does, he says finally, but I fear this sickness goes beyond our understanding. Even the learned physicians seem at a loss. The morning passes in relative quiet. Few customers come to the bakery. People are staying home when they can, venturing out only for absolute necessities. Those who do arrive are tense, jumping at sudden sounds, their eyes darting nervously as if expecting the dancing fever to strike them at any moment. Around midday, as you're loading freshly baked loaves into baskets for delivery to the market square, a commotion outside draws your attention. The sound of many voices raised in song drifts through the open door, a solemn, powerful chant that sends goosebumps along your arms. The procession, Master Jacob says, wiping his hands on his apron. Come, boy, we should witness this. You follow him outside, blinking in the sudden brightness after the dimness of the bakery. The street is lined with people now, all facing the same direction, many kneeling in reverence. Moving slowly down the centre of the street is a procession of monks in dark robes, their voices raised in a Latin hymn that seems to purify the very air it passes through. Behind them come priests in their vestments, swinging censers that release sweet-smelling smoke into the air. And at the centre, walking beneath a canopy of rich cloth held by 4 noblemen, is the bishop himself. You've seen the bishop only once before, during a special mass at the cathedral. He's an imposing figure, tall and straight-backed despite his age, with a face that speaks of both severity and compassion. His robes are magnificent, embroidered with gold thread that catches the sunlight. On his head sits the bishop's mitre, making him seem even taller, and in his hand he carries his crozier, the shepherd's staff that symbolises his role as guardian of his flock. As the procession passes, people reach out, hoping to touch the bishop's robes or receive his blessing. Master Jacob removes his cap, bowing his head in respect. You do the same, feeling a strange mix of awe and desperate hope. Surely such a holy man can drive away whatever has taken hold of Strasbourg. The procession continues toward the market square, where the dancers are. You feel a powerful urge to follow, to witness what happens when the bishop confronts the dancing plague. But Master Jacob's hand on your shoulder stops you. Back to work, he says quietly. The bread won't bake itself, and those poor souls will need food, blessing or no blessing. You nod reluctantly and return to the bakery, though your mind remains with the procession. As you work, you strain your ears for any sound that might indicate the outcome of the bishop's intervention. Cheers of joy if the dancers are cured, perhaps, or cries of dismay if they continue their relentless movement. But there is only the distant, continuing rhythm of the dance and the occasional toll of the cathedral bells marking the hours. By mid-afternoon, as promised, Master Jacob sends you home with a loaf of bread for your family and strict instructions to go directly there, no detours. But as you leave the bakery, you notice a small crowd gathered at the corner, listening intently to a man speaking rapidly. Curiosity pulls you closer, though you remain at the edge of the group, ready to slip away if needed. The speaker is a merchant by his dress, his face flushed with emotion as he gestures wildly. "Saw it with my own eyes," he's saying. "The bishop blessed them, prayed over them, even touched some with his holy staff, and still they danced. One woman collapsed right at his feet, foaming at the mouth like one possessed, then rose again and continued her ungodly movements." Murmurs of fear ripple through the crowd. Someone makes the sign of the cross. A woman begins to weep softly. The bishop has ordered a day of fasting and prayer, the merchant continues, says we must all cleanse our souls of sin, for this plague is surely a punishment from God. What of the dancers? Someone asks. Will they be moved to the cathedral for more prayers? The merchant shakes his head. They remain at the market square. The physicians still believe it's a malady of the body, not the soul. They've brought in more musicians, if you can believe it. Say the dancers must exhaust the sickness from their blood. You've heard enough? With a sense of growing dread, you hurry away, the bread clutched tightly to your chest. If even the bishop's blessing couldn't stop the dancing, what hope is there? The thought sends ice through your veins despite the summer heat. The streets seem more threatening now, the shadows between buildings deeper and more ominous. You find yourself walking faster, your eyes fixed on the ground before you. Don't look up, don't watch anyone who might be dancing, don't fall into a rhythm. The rules for survival in Strasbourg have changed so quickly. A flicker of movement in a doorway makes you start, but it's only a cat slinking along the wall. Its yellow eyes regard you warily before it disappears into a narrow alley. The brief fright has set your heart pounding, the blood rushing in your ears in a rhythm that suddenly seems dangerous. You deliberately break your stride, counting unevenly in your head. 1, 2, pause, 1, pause, 3, anything to disrupt the pattern. You're so focused on controlling your steps that you almost collide with someone coming around the corner. Strong hands steady you, and you look up to see Father Lucas, the priest from St. Martin's. His face is drawn with exhaustion, his clerical robes dusty. "Matthias," he says, recognition dawning in his tired eyes. "You should not be out alone." "Master Jacob sent me home early," you explain, showing him the bread. "I'm going straight there, Father, I promise." He nods, but doesn't release your arm. "I'll walk with you. These streets are not safe for anyone alone, least of all a child. Though you want to protest that you're not a child, 14 is nearly a man, you're grateful for the company. Father Lucas's presence is reassuring, solid, in a world that seems increasingly unstable. "Were you at the bishop's blessing, Father?" you ask as you walk together. A shadow crosses his face. "I was. It was not what we had hoped for. The dancers didn't stop." "Oh no." The word falls heavily between you. They continued as before. Some even seem to dance more frantically in the bishop's presence, as if he stops, perhaps realizing he's speaking too freely to a young person. "As if what, Father?" He sighs, looking suddenly older than his years. "As if whatever drives them fears the holy presence, yet cannot be overcome by it. It is troubling, Matthias. Very troubling." You walk in silence for a while, each lost in thought. The distant sound of the dancers is always there now, a constant reminder of the plague that has the city in its grip. It's almost like the beating of Strasbourg's heart, growing more frantic as the sickness spreads. "Have you felt any unusual urges?" Father Lucas asks suddenly, his voice low. "Any compulsion to move in ways you cannot control?" The question makes your skin prickle with apprehension. "No, Father, but I'm careful not to watch the dancers directly, and I try not to fall into rhythmic patterns when I walk or work." He nods approvingly. "Good. Continue to be vigilant, and pray, Matthias, pray for protection for yourself and your family. Will God hear us, Father, if even the bishop's blessing couldn't stop the dancing?" Father Lucas stops walking, turning to face you fully. His eyes are intense, burning with conviction. "God always hears us, Matthias, always, but sometimes his answer is not what we expect, or comes in ways we do not immediately recognize. We must have faith that he has a purpose, even in this suffering." The words are meant to comfort, but they leave you cold. What purpose could there be in people dancing themselves to death? What divine plan includes bloody feet and broken bodies driven beyond endurance? Before you can respond, a shout from nearby breaks the moment. You both turn to see a woman running towards you, her face a mask of terror. "Father, come quickly. It's my husband. He's started to dance." Father Lucas's expression shifts immediately to one of determination. He squeezes your shoulder briefly. "Go home, Matthias. Directly home. I must attend to this." Then he's gone, hurrying after the distraught woman, his robes billowing behind him. You stand frozen for a moment, the bread still clutched to your chest, before forcing yourself to move again, one foot in front of the other, deliberately irregular all the way home. When you finally reach your family's small house, you find it unusually crowded. Your mother is there, of course, with Greta on her lap, but so are Hans and Friedrich, who would normally be out looking for odd jobs at this hour. And with them is Magda, the flower seller whose sister Agnes was among the early dancers. They all look up as you enter, relief visible on your mother's face. "Thank God," she murmurs. "I was about to send Friedrich to find you." "I came straight home," you say, handing her the bread. "Master Jacob sent this for us." Magda is weeping quietly, her face buried in her hands. Your brothers sit awkwardly beside her, clearly unsure how to comfort the adult woman. Greta watches with wide, solemn eyes, her small fingers twisting in the fabric of your mother's skirt. "What's happened?" you ask, though part of you doesn't want to know. Your mother sighs, her free hand reaching out to stroke Magda's hair gently. "Agnes died an hour ago. She collapsed on the stage and could not rise again." The news hits you like a physical blow. Agnes, vibrant, laughing Agnes, who always slipped you a flower when you passed her stall, gone. You remember seeing her dancing just yesterday, her hair loose and wild, her eyes vacant, and now she's dead, another victim of this incomprehensible plague. "Her poor children," Magda sobs. "What will become of them? Her husband can barely feed them in the best of times. And now—" "They will come here," your mother says firmly. "We will make room. What's a few more mouths when we already have 4 children to feed?" She looks at you, her eyes conveying what her words do not, that this will mean even tighter rations, even more careful management of their meagre resources. But what choice is there? No one in Strasbourg would turn away orphaned children, not with the spectre of the dancing plague hanging over the city. Any family could be next, any parent taken by the mysterious affliction. There is safety only in community, in caring for one another when disaster strikes. "I can work more hours at the bakery," you offer. "Master Jacob might pay me a bit more if I take on extra tasks." Your mother nods, a small smile softening her tired face. "We will manage, as we always have." But as the afternoon wears on and arrangements are made for Agnes's children to be brought to your already crowded home, you can't shake the feeling that managing is becoming harder by the day. The dancing plague shows no sign of abating. If anything, it's growing stronger, claiming more victims with each passing hour. And beneath it all runs the constant, terrible rhythm of the dancers, audible even here in your home when the wind blows from the direction of the market square. It seems to have worked its way into the very heartbeat of the city, a pulse that grows more frantic as Strasbourg itself succumbs to the incomprehensible fever. That night, as you lie awake listening to the soft breathing of your siblings, now joined by Agnes's 2 small sons who finally cried themselves to sleep in your mother's arms, you find your thoughts returning to St. Vitus. What does the saint want from Strasbourg? Why has he cursed the city so terribly? Or is it a curse at all, or simply a sickness that no one understands? The questions circle in your mind like the endless movements of the dancers themselves, offering no rest, no peace. Outside, the summer night is thick with heat and fear, and somewhere in the darkness feet continue to stamp and bodies to twist in their relentless, fatal dance. Morning comes with the sound of crying. Agnes's youngest son, Thomas, just 4 years old, has woken confused and frightened, calling for his mother. Your own mother gathers him into her arms, rocking him gently and murmuring soft reassurances, but the child is inconsolable. His small body heaves with sobs that seem too big for his tiny frame. You lie still on your pallet, watching through half-closed eyes. Thomas's older brother, Lucas, named for Father Lucas, who baptized him, sleeps on, exhaustion keeping him in the merciful embrace of unconsciousness. At 6, he understands more than his brother, understands that his mother is gone and won't be coming back. Perhaps that knowledge is what drove him to such deep sleep, a temporary escape from the unbearable reality. The small house feels impossibly crowded now. Where there were 6 of you before, Mother, yourself, Friedrich, Hans and Greta, there are now 8. 8 bodies breathing the same air, needing the same scarce food, competing for the same limited space. You don't resent the children. How could you? Their hollow-eyed grief is too raw, too real, but you can't help wondering how your family will manage in the days ahead. Quietly, so as not to disturb the others, you rise and dress. The floor is cool beneath your bare feet, a momentary relief from the oppressive heat that builds with each summer day. Your mother looks up as you move, Thomas still crying softly against her shoulder. "Master Jacob will be expecting me," you whisper, though what you really want is to stay, to help somehow with this new burden your family has taken on. Your mother nods, understanding in her tired eyes. "Be careful, Matthias. Come straight home when you're done." The warning is unnecessary. Where else would you go in a city gripped by dancing madness? But you nod anyway, reaching out to touch Thomas's small head gently before you leave. His hair is soft and fine under your fingers, damp with the sweat of his distress. Outside, the early morning air is already thick with heat and the promise of another sweltering day. The streets are quieter than they should be. Even at this hour, few people venture out unless they must, and those who do walk with the now familiar irregular gait that has become Strasbourg's new normal. Avoid rhythm, avoid patterns, avoid the curse that turns ordinary people into frenzied dancers. The bakery is dark when you arrive, no smoke rising from the chimney, no scent of fresh bread in the air. You hesitate, confusion mingling with a flicker of alarm. Master Jacob is always here before dawn, the fire already roaring in the oven, the day's first batch of dough already rising. You've never once beaten him to the bakery in all your years as his apprentice. You knock on the door, softly at first, then with more urgency when there's no response. The wood is solid beneath your knuckles, the sound seeming overloud in the morning quiet. Still nothing. The fear that's been your constant companion these past days surges suddenly. What if Master Jacob has succumbed to the dancing plague? What if he's at this moment on the stage in the market square, his body moving in the same mindless frenzy that claimed Agnes's life? You try the door, finding it unlocked. Inside, the bakery is cool and silent, the oven cold, the work tables empty of the usual trays of dough. You call out, your voice small in the stillness. "Master Jacob!" A sound from the back room makes you jump, a low groan, followed by a bout of harsh coughing. You hurry toward it, dread and hope warring in your chest. Master Jacob lies on his pallet in the small room where he sleeps, his robust frame diminished somehow, his face flushed with fever. Relief floods through you. Not the dancing plague then, just ordinary illness. But the relief is short-lived as you take in his laboured breathing, the sweat that soaks his nightshirt. "Master Jacob," you say, kneeling beside him, "are you ill? Shall I fetch a physician?" His eyes open, fever-bright but aware. "Matthias," he croaks, his voice rough. "No physician, just water." You hurry to bring him a cup, supporting his head as he drinks greedily. The water dribbles down his chin, dampening the collar of his shirt. When he's finished, he falls back, exhausted by even this small effort. "Not the dancing," he says, seeming to read your thoughts. "Just fever. Been coming on for days." He coughs again, the sound rattling deep in his chest. No bread today, no flour anyway. No bread. The words hit you with surprising force. No bread means no income for you, no food to bring home to your family that now includes 2 more hungry children, and no bread for the city either, for the dancers who need sustenance even as they move without ceasing. What should I do? You ask, suddenly feeling very young and uncertain. Master Jacob's hand finds yours, his skin burning with fever. Go home, he says. Keep your family safe. This will pass, one way or another. His eyes close, exhaustion claiming him again. You sit there for a long moment, watching the rise and fall of his chest, listening to the wheezing of his breath. Master Jacob has been a constant in your life since your father apprenticed you to him at age 10. Not a kind man exactly, but fair and steady. To see him laid low by illness is deeply unsettling. Another foundation stone of your world shifted out of place. Finally, you rise. There's nothing you can do for him here except ensure he has water within reach. You fill a jug and place it beside his pallet, along with a cup. Then, with a last look at his sleeping form, you leave the bakery, locking the door behind you. The streets are beginning to fill with people now, though nothing like the usual bustle of a Strasbourg morning. You notice more city guards than normal, their hands never far from their weapons, their eyes watchful. There's tension in the air, a coiled anticipation as if the city itself is holding its breath, waiting for some new calamity. As you pass the entrance to the market square, you can't help but look. The dancing continues, of course. It never stops, but the wooden stage that was built to contain the dancers is now overflowing. You count quickly. 60, perhaps 70 people now move in that terrible, mindless frenzy. Some have clearly been dancing for days, their movements sluggish with exhaustion, their feet leaving bloody smears on the wood. Others are fresher, their steps more energetic, having joined the macabre dance more recently. Around the stage, a barrier of guards keeps the curious at bay. They wear the hoods Master Jacob described, cloth coverings with narrow slits for the eyes, designed to prevent them from seeing the full movements of the dancers and thus being infected by the curse. It makes them look inhuman, faceless sentinels guarding the boundary between the afflicted and the still healthy. You should turn away. You know this. Every instinct tells you to avert your eyes, to walk quickly past without watching, but something holds you transfixed. The sheer scale of the calamity, perhaps, or the terrible fascination of seeing ordinary people transformed into something so other. One of the hooded guards notices you're staring and moves toward you, hand raised in warning. "Move along, boy," he calls, voice muffled by the cloth. "No watching unless you want to join them." The admonition breaks your trance, and you hurry away, heart pounding. As you do, you catch a glimpse of someone you recognize among the newest dancers, the chandler who came to the bakery just days ago, speaking of musicians and stages. Now he's on that stage himself, his substantial body heaving with exertion, his face a mask of exhausted misery. It could have been you think, a cold shiver running down your spine despite the summer heat. If you'd watched too long, let the rhythm catch you. It could have been you dancing until your heart gave out, or your feet were too bloody to support you. The thought speeds your steps homeward, though you're careful to maintain the irregular gait that has become second nature now. At one point, you find yourself unconsciously falling into a pattern, 1-2, 1-2, and deliberately stumble, breaking the rhythm, your heart racing with momentary panic. When you reach home, you find chaos. Thomas is still crying, his small face red and swollen. Greta is fighting with Agnes's older son, Lucas, over a wooden toy. Friedrich and Hans are arguing about something, their voices rising in frustration, and your mother stands in the middle of it all, one hand pressed to her forehead, looking as close to defeat as you've ever seen her. "Master Jacob is ill," you announce, raising your voice to be heard over the din. "The bakery is closed, no bread today." The words cut through the noise, bringing sudden silence. Your mother's shoulders slump slightly before she straightens, her face settling into determined lines. "Then we must find another way," she says simply. "Friedrich, you and Hans go to the river. See if you can catch fish. Anything at all. Matthias, take Thomas with you to gather whatever greens you can find outside the walls. Lucas will help me with washing. I have a bundle from the chandler's wife that must be done today." You want to protest. Taking a grieving 4-year-old outside the city walls seems unwise at best, but you recognize the steel in your mother's voice. This is not a suggestion, but a command, born of necessity. If you don't eat today, all of you, then tomorrow will be even harder. So you find yourself, an hour later, outside Strasbourg's imposing stone walls, Thomas's small hand held firmly in yours. The child has finally stopped crying, exhaustion winning out over grief for the moment. He walks beside you silently, his red-rimmed eyes taking in the unfamiliar surroundings with wary curiosity. Beyond the city, the countryside stretches green and gold, fields of grain ripening in the summer sun, punctuated by patches of woodland and meadow. It's peaceful here, the air cleaner than in the crowded streets of Strasbourg, the only sounds the buzz of insects and the distant call of birds. You can almost forget the horror that grips the city, the endless dancing and the mounting death toll. Almost, but not quite. For even here, the rhythm seems to follow you, a phantom beat that makes you constantly aware of your steps, your breathing, the very cadence of your thoughts. "Are there bears?" Thomas asks suddenly, his small voice startling in the quiet. You squeeze his hand reassuringly. "No bears, you promise. Just rabbits and birds and maybe some deer if we're lucky." "Mama said bears eat bad children," he says matter-of-factly, and your heart twists at the casual mention of his mother, gone now forever. "Your mama was just trying to keep you safe," you say carefully, "but there are no bears here, I promise, and you're not a bad child." He seems satisfied with this, falling silent again as you lead him toward a meadow where you know dandelions and wild onions grow. These aren't choice foods, but they'll fill empty bellies when there's nothing else. The meadow is a riot of summer colour, yellow dandelions, purple clover, white daisies, and a dozen other wild flowers you can't name. Bees move lazily from bloom to bloom, their buzzing a gentle counterpoint to the rustling of grass in the light breeze. It's so different from the feverish atmosphere of Strasbourg that you find yourself breathing more deeply, some of the tension leaving your shoulders. You show Thomas how to dig for dandelion roots, how to tell which plants are edible, and which might make you sick. He's a quick learner, his small fingers soon dirt-stained as he helps fill the sack you brought. The simple, repetitive task seems to soothe him, giving his grief-muddled mind something concrete to focus on. As you work, you find yourself talking about the plants, about the insects that buzz around you, about anything except what's happening in the city behind you. Thomas listens with the intense focus young children can bring to bear, occasionally asking questions that reveal a sharp mind behind his tear-swollen eyes. "Why do people dance until they die?" he asks suddenly, the non sequitur catching you off guard. You hesitate, unsure how to explain something you don't understand yourself. "Some sicknesses affect the body in strange ways," you say finally, "like when you have a fever and your teeth chatter even though you feel hot." Thomas considers this, his small brow furrowed in concentration. "But Mama wasn't sick. She was fine, and then she just started dancing." "I know," you say softly, reaching out to stroke his hair as you'd seen your mother do. "Sometimes sicknesses come on very suddenly. Will I get sick too? Will I dance like Mama?" The fear in his voice makes your throat tight. "No," you say with more certainty than you feel. "You're safe with us. We'll take care of you." He nods, seemingly reassured, and returns to digging up dandelions. But the question lingers in the air between you, unanswerable in its terrible simplicity. Will more people dance? Will you? Will anyone in Strasbourg be spared this incomprehensible plague? By the time the sun is high overhead, your sack is full of dandelion roots, wild onions, and a handful of early berries found at the edge of the woods. Not much for 8 people, but better than nothing. Thomas is tired now, his small face streaked with dirt, his steps dragging as you turn back toward the city. The walls of Strasbourg loom ahead, solid and imposing, a barrier between the peaceful countryside and the city gripped by dancing madness. You feel a strange reluctance to return, a fleeting wish that you could stay out here with Thomas, away from the terror and uncertainty that wait within those walls. But your family needs you and the food you've gathered, and Thomas needs the comfort of your mother's arms, the distraction of Greta's games, the sense of security that comes from being part of a family however hastily assembled. As you approach the city gate, you notice an unusual number of people coming out. Families with carts piled high with belongings, merchants with their goods hastily packed, even a few nobles on horseback, their fine clothes incongruous outside the city walls. "They're leaving," says a voice beside you, and you turn to find a man you vaguely recognize. A cooper, you think, though you don't know his name. Fleeing the dancing sickness while they still can. "Where will they go?" you ask, tightening your grip on Thomas's hand instinctively. The man shrugs. "Wherever will take them. The next town, if they're not already turning people away. The countryside, if they have kin there." He eyes your sack of foraged food. "You'd be wise to do the same, boy. Take that little one and run. This city is cursed." The suggestion sends a jolt through you. Leave Strasbourg. Leave your mother, your siblings, the only home you've ever known. The idea is both terrifying and strangely tempting. A chance to escape the rhythm that haunts your days and nights, the constant fear of joining the dancers. But you know you won't go. Couldn't go, even if you wanted to. Your family is here, and whatever fate awaits Strasbourg, you'll face it together. "We'll be fine," you tell the cooper, with more confidence than you feel. "The bishop is praying for the city. The plague will pass." The man's laugh is harsh, without humour. "Pray all you want, boy, but I've seen 3 die just this morning, danced until their hearts burst in their chests. No prayer stopped them. No physician saved them." He shakes his head, already moving away. "This city is damned." You hurry through the gate, pulling Thomas along more roughly than you intend. The cooper's words echo in your mind, feeding the fear that's become your constant companion. Is he right? Is Strasbourg beyond saving? Inside the walls, the city seems changed somehow, though you can't immediately identify how. Then it hits you, the noise. Usually, Strasbourg at midday is a cacophony of sounds. Vendors calling their wares, animals braying, the clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the chatter of people going about their business. But now there's a strange, hushed quality to the streets, as if the entire city is holding its breath. Except, of course, for the dancers. Their rhythm continues, a constant background to everything else, like the beating of the city's fevered heart. You hurry home, Thomas stumbling to keep up with your longer strides. The familiar streets seem alien now, threatening rather than comforting. Every person you pass is a potential danger, not through any malice of their own, but because they might at any moment be seized by the dancing frenzy and pull you into their curse. When you finally reach your family's small house, relief washes over you. Friedrich and Hans are already back, a string of small fish, barely more than minnows, their contribution to the day's meal. Your mother has finished her washing, the chandler's wife's linens, hanging to dry on lines strung across the cramped space. Greta and Lucas are playing quietly in the corner, some childish game involving pebbles and lines drawn in the dirt floor. For a moment, watching them, you can almost believe that everything is normal, that Agnes isn't dead, that people aren't dancing themselves to death in the market square, that Strasbourg isn't holding its collective breath waiting for the next victim to be claimed. Then Thomas breaks free of your hand and runs to your mother, burying his face in her skirts, and the illusion shatters. Nothing is normal. Nothing may ever be normal again. That night, after a meagre meal of fish broth and dandelion roots, your mother gathers all 6 children around her. The small house is stifling in the summer heat, the air heavy with the smell of unwashed bodies and the fish that simmered in your single pot. Sweat trickles down your back, making your shirt cling uncomfortably to your skin. "I want to tell you a story," your mother says, her voice soft in the gathering darkness. It's a familiar ritual, stories before sleep, but there's a new urgency to it tonight, as if she's using the words to create a barrier between your family and the horror that waits outside. She tells an old tale, one you've heard many times before, about a clever peasant who outwits a greedy lord. It's a simple story, full of satisfying justice and clear morals. The younger children listen, wide-eyed, momentarily forgetting their fears and losses in the rhythm of your mother's voice. Rhythm. The word catches in your mind, making you tense, but this rhythm is different from the relentless beat of the dancer's feet. This is the gentle cadence of storytelling, the rise and fall of your mother's voice, the pattern of words that has soothed children to sleep for generations. As the story ends and the younger ones settle onto their pallets, you find yourself looking at your mother with new understanding. She's fighting the dancing plague in her own way, not with physicians' cures or bishops' prayers, but with the simple, powerful magic of normality, of family, of love. It may not be enough. The fear that has taken root in your heart these past days tells you that nothing may be enough to save Strasbourg from the curse that has befallen it. But in this moment, in this small, crowded house, with your family breathing the same air and sharing the same fate, you find a measure of peace. Outside, the dancing continues, its rhythm a constant reminder of the fragility of everything you hold dear. But for now, surrounded by your family, you are safe. The dance has not claimed you, not yet. And in a world gone mad, perhaps that is all anyone can hope for. One more night of safety. One more day of sanity. One more moment of being spared the curse that turns ordinary people into dancers who cannot stop until death claims them. As you drift towards sleep, your body heavy with exhaustion, you find yourself silently repeating the prayer Father Lucas taught you. St. Vitus, protect us from your curse, spare us from the dance that brings only death. And somewhere in the darkness of Strasbourg, the dancers dance on, their feet marking time toward an end that no one can predict or prevent. Days blur into one another as August drags on, each sunrise bringing more heat, more fear, more dancers. You've lost track of how many have succumbed to the strange affliction, perhaps 100 now, perhaps more. The wooden stage in the market square has been expanded twice, and still it cannot contain them all. Your world has contracted to a few safe places. Home, the route to the bakery, now reopened as Master Jacob's fever broke, though he remains weak, and occasional foraging trips outside the walls. Everything else feels dangerous, as if the very air of Strasbourg carries the contagion of rhythmic movement. This morning, as you knead dough with careful, irregular motions, Master Jacob watches from his stool by the oven. He's too frail still to do the heavy work, but he insists on overseeing every step of the bread-making process. His once robust frame has been diminished by illness, his clothes hanging loose on his body, his face gaunt, but his eyes are as sharp as ever, missing nothing. The council meets again today, he says, his voice still rougher than normal. Third time this week. You nod, concentrating on breaking the rhythm of your kneading. Push, fold, twist, pause, push, twist, fold, pause. Never the same pattern twice. It makes the work harder, less efficient, but the alternative is unthinkable. They say the bishop has sent to Rome for guidance. Master Jacob continues, though what the Pope knows of dancing sickness I couldn't say. The mention of Rome makes your hands still momentarily. The Pope, God's representative on earth, if anyone has the power to end this curse, surely it would be him. But Rome is far away, many weeks' journey. By the time any response comes, will there be anyone left in Strasbourg not dancing or dead? More have left the city, you say, instead of voicing these thoughts. I saw 3 families going through the gate yesterday. Master Jacob sighs, the sound ending in a small cough. Those who can go, those who cannot stay and pray or dance. He shakes his head slowly. Never thought I'd see such a thing in my lifetime. People dancing themselves to death with no music, no joy. There is music now, of course. The council's hired musicians who play day and night, matching their tempo to the frenzied movements of the dancers. But Master Jacob is right that there's no joy in it. The music feels like a mockery, a funereal accompaniment to a city in the grip of madness. The bakery door opens, letting in a blast of hot air and the distant sound of the dancers. A city guard stands there, his uniform dishevelled, his face shiny with sweat beneath his helmet. Baker, he addresses Master Jacob without preamble. The council requires bread. 30 loaves, as soon as possible, for the dancers. Master Jacob frowns. 30? With what flour? The stores are nearly empty, and no new shipments have come in weeks. The guard's face hardens. The council doesn't ask, Baker. It commands. 30 loaves. I'll return at noon. He turns to go, then pauses. And Baker, your tax payment is overdue. The council has not forgotten, even in these troubled times. The door closes behind him with a decisive thud, leaving a tense silence in his wake. Master Jacob's face has gone pale with anger or fear, perhaps both. Taxes, he mutters, as if we aren't all suffering enough, as if there's money to spare when half the city is dancing and the other half is too afraid to leave their homes. You continue kneading, though your mind races. 30 loaves will take nearly all the flour you have left. And without money to buy more, money the bakery hasn't been earning with so few customers, how will you continue after today? Master Jacob seems to read your thoughts. We'll manage, boy, he says, with more confidence than his sagging shoulders convey. We always do. The morning passes in a blur of activity. You and Master Jacob work side by side, stretching the dwindling flour supplies as far as they'll go. The heat from the oven is oppressive in the summer air, making sweat pour down your face and back. Your arms ache from kneading, your legs from standing, but there's a comfort in the work, in doing something useful when so much seems hopeless. By noon, the 30 loaves are ready, their golden brown crusts giving off the mouth-watering aroma that usually draws customers from blocks away. Today, there are no customers, only the guard, returned as promised, with a cart to transport the bread to the dancers. Good, he says, inspecting the loaves with a cursory glance. The council will credit your account. And what will I buy flour with tomorrow? Master Jacob asks, his voice tight. Credit won't feed the city. The guard shrugs, already loading the bread into his cart. Take it up with the council, Baker. I'm just following orders. When he's gone, Master Jacob sinks onto his stool, suddenly looking every one of his 50-odd years. Close up, he says wearily. No point staying open with no flour and no customers. I could try to find more dandelion roots, you offer, to mix with what flour we have left. It wouldn't taste good, but... no. Master Jacob cuts you off, his voice surprisingly firm. I won't sell such bread. Better to close until we can make proper loaves again. He looks up at you, his eyes softening slightly. Go home, Matthias. Be with your family. These are dark days. The dismissal feels final somehow, more than just for today, as if Master Jacob doesn't expect the bakery to reopen tomorrow or perhaps ever. The thought sends a chill through you despite the heat. What will you do, you ask, hesitant. A ghost of a smile crosses his face. Survive, boy, same as everyone else. Now go. Outside, the streets are eerily quiet for midday. The few people you pass walk quickly, heads down, avoiding eye contact. Everyone has the same wary look, the same careful, irregular gait. Everyone listens for the rhythm of the dancers and does everything possible to avoid matching it. As you approach the market square, you notice an unusual amount of activity. Not dancers, but city officials and guards gathered in discussion. Curiosity pulls you closer, though you're careful to stay at a distance that won't draw attention. The officials are clustered around a large parchment, gesturing animatedly. You catch fragments of their conversation on the hot, still air. Pilgrimage to the shrine, red shoes blessed with holy oil. Only way to appease St. Vitus. A pilgrimage, the word catches your attention. Religious journeys to holy sites are common enough, but usually undertaken voluntarily by the faithful, not organized by city authorities. What shrine are they discussing, and what does it have to do with red shoes? You edge closer, straining to hear more. The cost will be substantial, one official is saying, his fine clothes marking him as a member of the city council. Wagons for those too weak to walk, food for the journey, the shoes themselves. What choice do we have? Another responds, wiping sweat from his brow with a linen handkerchief. The dancing spreads daily. If we don't act now, there may be no one left to save. And if it doesn't work, if St. Vitus rejects our offering, the question hangs in the air, unanswered. You've heard enough. Backing away carefully, you turn and hurry toward home, eager to share this news with your mother. The small house is quieter than usual when you arrive. Thomas and Lucas are napping in the corner, their small bodies curled together like puppies seeking comfort. Greta sits with your mother, learning to stitch a torn shirt, her small fingers clumsy but determined. Friedrich and Hans are absent, presumably out looking for food or work. Your mother looks up as you enter, surprise crossing her tired face. Matthias, why aren't you at the bakery? Master Jacob closed early, you explain, sitting beside her on the rough wooden bench that serves as your only real furniture. The wood is smooth from years of use, worn down by countless bodies before yours. There's no more flour, and the council took all today's bread for the dancers. She sighs, setting aside her mending. More bad news, then. Not all bad, you counter, lowering your voice so as not to wake the sleeping boys. I overheard the council officials. They're planning a pilgrimage to a shrine. St. Vitus, I think. They believe it might stop the dancing. Your mother's expression shifts. Not quite hope, but a lifting of the perpetual worry that has lined her face these past weeks. When? Soon, I think. They were discussing costs, arrangements. She nods slowly, her eyes distant, calculating. A pilgrimage would be good, get people out of the city, into clean air, and if it cures the dancers, she doesn't finish the thought, as if afraid to voice too much optimism. The afternoon passes slowly. You help with household chores, mending, cleaning, watching the children while your mother visits a neighbour to trade some of her sewing work for a handful of dried beans. The small house is stifling in the August heat, the air thick and still. Sweat trickles down your back, dampening your shirt. The rough fabric chafes against your skin, adding to the general discomfort. When Friedrich and Hans return, they bring news that confirms what you overheard. The city council has indeed announced a pilgrimage to the shrine of St. Vitus, some 30 miles away in the mountains. The dancers will be loaded onto wagons, and any who wish to accompany them are welcome. They will leave in 2 days' time. Will we go? Friedrich asks, looking to your mother. At 16, he's caught between childhood and adulthood, still deferring to her authority while chafing under it. Your mother's face is thoughtful. If we can find enough food for the journey, it won't be easy with so many mouths to feed. I could stay behind, you offer. Look after the house. The suggestion earns you a sharp look. No one stays behind, she says firmly. We go together or not at all. The certainty in her voice brooks no argument. You nod, accepting her decision while privately wondering how you'll manage to feed 8 people on a journey of several days when you can barely feed yourselves staying put. That night, as you lie awake listening to the soft breathing of your siblings and the orphaned boys, you find yourself thinking about St. Vitus. What power does this long-dead saint hold over the living? Why would he curse an entire city with dancing madness? And will a pilgrimage to his shrine truly end the plague that has gripped Strasbourg? The questions circle in your mind, unanswerable. Outside, the distant thump of the dancers continues, a constant reminder of the fragility of sanity, of life itself. You try to block it out, focusing instead on the immediate concerns of tomorrow, finding food, preparing for the journey, keeping your family safe for one more day. Sleep comes eventually, a heavy blanket of exhaustion that drags you down into dreams filled with dancing figures and the relentless rhythm of feet that cannot stop. The next day dawns bright and clear, the sky a perfect blue unmarred by clouds. It would be beautiful if not for the pall of fear that hangs over Strasbourg, thicker than the summer heat. The whole city seems to be preparing for the pilgrimage, an undercurrent of nervous energy running through the streets. Master Jacob is at the bakery when you arrive, though the ovens remain cold. He's sorting through his meagre supplies, setting aside small amounts of flour, salt, and the precious remaining honey. "For your family," he says when he sees you, gesturing to the small bundles. "For the journey." Gratitude wells up in your throat, making it hard to speak. These supplies represent Master Jacob's livelihood, perhaps his survival, that he would give them to you. "Thank you," you manage finally. "But what about you? Will you join the pilgrimage?" He shakes his head, a wry smile twisting his mouth. "These old legs won't carry me 30 miles, boy. I'll stay and mind the bakery. Perhaps when you all return, cured of this madness, we'll bake bread again." There's something in his voice, a note of finality, of farewell, that makes your chest tighten. "We will," you insist, "and I'll still be your apprentice." Master Jacob looks at you for a long moment, his eyes softening. "You're a good worker, Matthias. A good boy. Whatever happens, remember that." The rest of the day passes in a flurry of preparation. The small bundles from Master Jacob are received by your mother with tears in her eyes, a rare display of emotion from a woman who prides herself on practicality. The flour and salt will make journey bread, flat, dense loaves, that will sustain you on the road. The honey can be mixed with water to provide sweetness and energy when spirits flag. Throughout Strasbourg, similar scenes are playing out. Those who can, prepare to leave. Those who cannot, the elderly, the infirm, those with businesses that cannot be abandoned, ready themselves for an uncertain future in a city half emptied of its inhabitants, and the dancers dance on, oblivious to the preparations around them, locked in their private hell of endless movement. Dawn breaks on the day of the pilgrimage with an unusual chill in the air, as if autumn has arrived early to drive out the summer heat. You stand with your family near the city gate, part of a crowd that seems to include half of Strasbourg. The mood is subdued, expectant, not the joyful anticipation that usually accompanies religious journeys, but a desperate hope that borders on despair. Wagons have been arranged for the dancers, their bodies secured with ropes to prevent them from falling as they continue their ceaseless movement. It's a macabre sight, men and women tied like animals, their feet bloody, their faces gaunt with exhaustion, still dancing despite days without rest. Some have been dancing for weeks now, sustained only by water and food forced into their mouths during brief moments of collapse. Among them, you recognize faces: the chandler, Agnes's husband, who succumbed just days after her death, the baker from the next street over. Once ordinary citizens of Strasbourg, now reduced to this terrible, mindless frenzy. City officials move through the crowd, distributing small bundles. When one reaches your family, you see what they contain: shoes. Red shoes, simple but well made, sized for adults and children alike. Blessed by the priests, the official explains briefly. To be worn when we reach the shrine. Put them on only then. Your mother accepts the shoes with a murmured thanks, adding them to the small pack of belongings you'll carry on the journey. They're a luxury in a time of scarcity. Good leather dyed a rich crimson with sturdy soles that would normally cost more than your family could afford. As the sun rises fully above the horizon, painting the stone walls of Strasbourg with golden light, the procession begins to move. Priests lead the way, carrying crosses and sacred relics, their voices raised in Latin prayers. Behind them come the wagons with the dancers. A strange, mobile stage of perpetual movement. And then the rest, the families, the hopeful, the desperate, all leaving the safety of the city walls for an uncertain journey to an even more uncertain cure. You look back as you pass through the gate, taking in the familiar skyline of Strasbourg, the soaring spire of the cathedral, the sturdy guild halls, the clustering houses with their distinctive timber frames. Home. For all its hardships, all its dangers, it's the only place you've ever known. Will you see it again? Will it be the same if you do? The questions hang unanswered as you turn away, focusing on the road ahead. It stretches before you, dusty and rutted, winding into the distance toward the mountains where St. Vitus's shrine awaits. 30 miles, 4 days of walking, perhaps 5 with the wagons slowing the pace. A journey that would be challenging in the best of times, potentially deadly in these. But what choice is there? Stay in Strasbourg and risk joining the dancers, or make this pilgrimage and hope for a miracle? The decision has been made, not just by your family, but by a city pushed to the brink of desperation. The first day's travel is slow but steady. The dancers continue their relentless movement in the wagons, the sound of their feet creating a constant background rhythm that everyone else is careful not to match. Priests walk alongside, sprinkling holy water and murmuring prayers. Physicians check the dancers regularly, forcing water between parched lips, supporting heads that loll with exhaustion. Your family walks together, Hans carrying Greta when her small legs tire, Friedrich helping with Thomas and Lucas. Your mother moves with determined steps, her face set in lines of concentration. This journey is just one more hardship to be endured, one more challenge to overcome for the sake of her children, both born to her and taken in. The countryside is beautiful, a stark contrast to the horror of the dancing plague. Fields of grain ripple in the light breeze, dotted with red poppies and blue cornflowers. Woods offer welcome shade from the sun, the cool darkness beneath the trees a relief for tired bodies. Streams provide fresh water, cleaner than anything available in the city. By nightfall, the procession has covered perhaps 7 miles, a decent distance considering the wagons and the many children and elderly among the travellers. Camp is made in a meadow beside a small river, fires lit for cooking and warmth. The dancers remain in their wagons, still moving, though some have collapsed into brief, exhausted sleep, only to jerk awake and resume their frenzied movements. You help your mother set up a simple camp, a fire for cooking, blankets spread on the ground for sleeping. The journey bread is shared out in small portions, supplemented with berries gathered along the way and a handful of the precious salt to replace what's been lost in sweat. As darkness falls, the fires cast flickering shadows across the meadow, illuminating the faces of the pilgrims. Despite the exhaustion of the day's travel, there's a sense of relief among many. Relief to be away from Strasbourg, away from the constant fear of succumbing to the dancing plague. Out here, under the vast canopy of stars, the madness seems more distant, less threatening. The next 3 days follow a similar pattern, walking from dawn until dusk, making camp, sharing meagre meals, sleeping under the stars. The terrain becomes more challenging as you approach the mountains, gentle hills giving way to steeper slopes, lush meadows to rockier ground. The air grows cooler, especially at night, a welcome change from the stifling heat of the city. And always the dancers dance. Some die along the way, their bodies finally giving out after days or weeks of ceaseless movement. They are buried quickly, with simple prayers, the procession pausing only briefly before moving on. There is no time for elaborate mourning, no resources for proper funerals. Death has become a companion on this journey, walking alongside hope. On the fifth day, as the sun reaches its zenith, you crest a hill and see it, the shrine of St. Vitus. It's smaller than you expected, a stone chapel nestled in a valley between two mountains. A stream runs beside it, catching the sunlight like scattered diamonds. Around the shrine, a small community has grown. A few houses, fields of crops, a mill by the stream. A murmur runs through the procession at the sight. Not jubilation, you're all too tired, too heartsick for that, but a stirring of the hope that has driven you here. The shrine represents the end of the journey, but more importantly, the possibility of an end to the dancing plague. The priests move forward, conferring with the monks who tend the shrine. Arrangements are made for the dancers to be brought before the altar, for the pilgrims to be housed and fed. The community around the shrine is poor but generous, opening their homes to strangers bound by shared faith and desperation. As the sun begins to set, painting the mountains with gold and rose, the moment comes. The red shoes are distributed again, with instructions to put them on before entering the shrine. You help Thomas with his, the small red boots looking incongruously bright against his dusty legs. Will these make Mama better? He asks, his voice small and uncertain. The question catches you off guard. In all the chaos of the journey, you've almost forgotten that Thomas and Lucas are here because their mother was one of the dancers, one who didn't survive. They've come seeking not a cure, but perhaps closure and understanding of what claimed their mother's life. I hope so, you say carefully, not wanting to promise what you cannot guarantee. St. Vitus is very powerful. If anyone can help, he can. The shrine is too small to accommodate everyone at once, so the pilgrims enter in groups. The dancers are brought in first, their wagons rolled to the entrance, their exhausted bodies carried to the altar by strong men who avert their eyes from the continuing weakened dance. Your family waits outside with the other pilgrims, the red shoes uncomfortable on feet used to simpler, more worn footwear. The leather is stiff, requiring time to soften and conform to your feet. But discomfort is a small price to pay if the blessed shoes help end the curse. Night falls fully, the stars emerging one by one in the vast mountain sky. Torches are lit around the shrine, casting long shadows across the valley. The sound of chanting emerges from within the chapel, priests and monks raising their voices in prayers to St. Vitus, begging for his intervention, his mercy, and then a different sound, a cry, not of pain, but of relief. The pilgrims stir, murmurs of question running through the crowd. What's happening inside? Has St. Vitus answered the prayers? When your family's turn comes to enter the shrine, you step inside with a mixture of fear and hope. The chapel is simple but beautiful. Stone walls hung with tapestries depicting the life and martyrdom of St. Vitus, an altar of polished wood beneath a painted crucifix. Candles providing warm, flickering light that softens the hard edges of reality. And there, before the altar, are the dancers, or rather those who were dancers, for they are still now, their bodies at rest for the first time in days or weeks. Some lie prostrate, too exhausted to sit up. Others kneel in prayer, tears streaming down their faces. Still others simply sit, looking dazed as if awakening from a long nightmare. The dancing has stopped. The realization hits you with physical force, making your knees weak. It worked. The pilgrimage, the red shoes, the prayers, something has broken the curse that held these people in its grip. St. Vitus has shown mercy. Your mother's hand finds yours, squeezing tightly. You look up to see tears in her eyes. tears of relief, of gratitude, of sheer exhaustion finally finding release. Around you, other families are reuniting with loved ones who have been restored to them, embracing, weeping, murmuring thanks to God and St. Vitus. Thomas and Lucas stand uncertainly, their small faces solemn as they watch the scene. Their mother isn't here to be restored to them. Her dance ended in death before the pilgrimage began, but perhaps there is still comfort in knowing that the force that took her has been defeated, that her suffering has ended. The journey back to Strasbourg takes place in a very different atmosphere than the journey out. Though bodies are still tired, spirits have lifted. The dancers, former dancers now, grow stronger each day, though many will bear scars, both physical and otherwise, for the rest of their lives. Feet damaged beyond repair, hearts weakened by the ordeal, minds haunted by memories of compulsion they couldn't resist. When the walls of Strasbourg come into view on the 10th day after your departure, a cheer rises from the returning pilgrims. Home. Changed, perhaps, but still home. The city you return to is not the same one you left. Many who stayed behind have fled, unable to bear the fear of the dancing plague. Others succumbed to it in your absence, their bodies buried in hasty graves. Still others simply went on with their lives as best they could, adapting to the strange new reality that had befallen their city. Master Jacob is waiting at the bakery door as you pass, his face lighting up at the sight of your family intact, whole. He waves you over, his usually stern features softened with relief. "You made it," he says simply. "And the dancers?" "Cured," your mother replies. "St. Vitus heard our prayers." Master Jacob nods, as if this is exactly what he expected. "Good. Then perhaps Strasbourg can begin to heal." He looks at you directly. "The bakery opens tomorrow, Matthias. A shipment of flour arrived yesterday from the north. We have work to do." Life resumes, as it always does after calamity. The rhythms of daily existence gradually return, the bakery's pre-dawn fires, the market's morning bustle, the cathedral's regular bells marking the hours, but nothing is quite the same. How could it be after what you've all witnessed, what you've survived? The dancing plague of 1518 passes into memory, then into story, then into history. Years later, as an adult with your own bakery and your own apprentices, you will tell the tale to wide-eyed children who can scarcely believe such a thing could happen. You'll describe the procession to St. Vitus's shrine, the red shoes, the miracle of stillness after weeks of ceaseless movement. What you won't be able to explain, even then, is why it happened. What force seized Frau Tropea that July day and compelled her to dance without ceasing? What power spread through Strasbourg, claiming victim after victim? Was it truly St. Vitus's curse, lifted only through pilgrimage and prayer? Or was it something else? A sickness of the mind, born of fear and hardship, cured not by divine intervention, but by the simple act of leaving the city where it began? These questions remain unanswered, as some questions must. The dancing plague becomes one more mystery in a world full of them, one more reminder of how little we truly understand about the forces that shape our lives. But what you do understand, what the plague taught you and everyone who survived it, is the fragility of normalcy, how quickly the familiar can become strange, how easily order can give way to chaos, and perhaps most importantly, how resilient people can be when faced with the unimaginable. Strasbourg rebuilds. Strasbourg recovers. Strasbourg remembers, in its way, incorporating the dancing plague into its identity, its history, and life goes on as it must, as it always has. In the quiet moments, though, in the still watches of the night when memory is strongest, you sometimes think you can hear it still, the distant rhythm of feet that cannot stop, the desperate beat of a dance that brought only suffering. In those moments, you deliberately break your breathing pattern, vary your heartbeat, remind yourself that you are free, you are still, you are safe. And you offer a silent prayer of thanks to St. Vitus, guardian against the dancing curse, protector of those who seek stillness in a world that never stops moving. The dancing plague of 1518, a strange, terrible chapter in history, a reminder that sometimes the greatest mysteries are not in distant lands or ancient times, but in the human mind itself, in our capacity for both suffering and healing, for both madness and mercy, in our endless dance between despair and hope, between darkness and light. And perhaps that's why the story continues to resonate across the centuries, because it speaks to something fundamental about what it means to be human, to move through the world in bodies that can betray us, with minds that can be overtaken by forces we don't understand. To seek meaning in suffering, to find community in hardship, to discover strength we never knew we possessed. In the end, the dancing plague of 1518 isn't just a story about people who couldn't stop dancing. It's about all of us, our fears, our resilience, our connections to one another. It's about the rhythms that drive us, the patterns we follow or break, the steps we take together through a world that often makes no sense at all. And perhaps, in some small way, that understanding is the true legacy of those who danced until they could dance no more, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we are never truly alone in our strange and terrible dance through life.